Just a little bit about me. I'm originally from Chattanooga, Tennessee. I've been a school psychologist for 15 years and a licensed psychologist about going on 3 years. I went into the mental health field because I wanted to help children who might be struggling, children who look like me. I felt that some of the things that I'd gone through in my life, I could really relate and understand and uplift them. So that's why I chose to go into mental health. So just a little bit about my book, Breakthrough. How many of you guys have ever read Jack Canfield's Chicken Soup for the Soul? You've heard of it. Okay, so Breakthrough is sort of like that. It's myself and 20 other authors, and it features short stories about overcoming obstacles. So instead of chicken soup for the soul, though, we have a little extra flavor, a couple little more herbs and spices. So we're more like chicken gumbo for the soul, because we got people from all over the planet in this book, and it is such an amazing. Not just because I'm in it, but I mean the stories when I read it. I was like, wow, this is the human spirit and how people can use their resilience and skills and utilize their resources to overcome obstacles. It just blows my mind. So I'm the only mental health professional in the book, but I'm really proud of this project. And I like to think of this book as my appetizer. So in the near future, I'll be coming out with my own book, telling my own story in my own way. But I thought this was a great way to initially get my story out. Because it was tough. It was tough thinking about all the things that happened and everything. So I'm just really proud of this project. So enough about me. Why are you here? Why did you decide to become school psychologists? Why do you attend NASP year after year? Are you seeking a breakthrough? Are you reaffirming that this is what you're supposed to do? Because let's be honest, this is a tough gig. It can be a thankless job. We go into meetings every day. Sometimes you're appreciated, sometimes you're hated, depending on the outcome of the MDR. We don't do this for money, obviously. Some of us might do it for the summer vacations. But my whole point is that, most of us went into school psychology to help children. And I'm sure, whether you've been in this gig for, this is your first year or you've been doing it for 40 years, there's been a kid somewhere along the way that has made a positive impact in your life. Can you think of that kid right now? I see some heads nodding. You can think of that kid? Yeah. So I'm going to talk about a little girl that made a positive impact in my life. You might recognize her. I don't know. You might. So, here's my parents. Both of my parents are deceased. They weren't perfect. Like our parents weren't perfect. Like those of you who are parents, you're not a perfect parent. But, we all have our trauma and our drama and our histories and everything that makes us who we are. Like the families that we work with, they don't deserve to be judged. They deserve resources, empathy, understanding, acknowledgement, to be invited into a welcoming academic environment, to know that we have the best interests at heart for their child and that we are advocates for their children. This is my dissertation dedication to my parents. I love them dearly. Like I said, they weren't perfect, but they definitely uplifted me and, made me believe in myself. So I will always love them for that. So now let's get back to this little girl. She was about 3 years old in this photo. The little girl told me she grew up with bloody noses and black and crying eyes, all the hatred I do despise. The little girl, she said, she kept flashing back when her mama laid on the floor weeping after they had gotten into a fist fight with her dad. It was all in the name of dysfunctional love and individual trauma histories, cataclysmically catapulted. In this photo, the little girl's in kindergarten, all excited and ready to learn. She was too hyper, or rather had too many fun and creative ideas on her mind to take naps. Around age 7, the little girl's parents divorced and her granny died, and both her mom and dad remarried other people. Then at age 8, the little girl told me how she watched her mother get arrested and her first sleepover away from family was in a children's home, and how she lied in bed in that children's home, gazing up at the sky, wondering why did this all happen. She was worried about her little brother too. He was only about 3 or 4 at the time. He was in a different section with the infants and toddlers in the children's home. And she was concerned, would her and her little brother be dumped into the foster care system, lost forever, never, ever, ever to be loved again? And since the little girl's father living with his new wife and all, he said he couldn't take care of her and her brother. They went to live with their auntie. Then one day, while watching the Cosby Show, the little girl decided she too wanted to become a doctor and live a happy life to help other little boys and girls who looked just like her, who felt sad, lonely, abandoned, and blue. That little girl feeling abandoned as can be, that little girl looked just like me. But wait a minute. Don't have pity for that little girl. That little girl was unstoppable. This was the same little girl in the 5th grade who made it all the way to the district spelling bee in her city. And because her mama didn't have a car or babysitter, her school principal, Miss Mary Joyce G., picked her up in her car and took her to spell her freaking heart out. But the little girl didn't make it to Washington, D.C., unfortunately. The little girl continued to excel in middle school, and at her 8th grade graduation, she received many accolades and awards. Others saw the little girl as a ghetto nerd, and the little girl kind of had low self-esteem, because she was different. But the little girl knew through education she could achieve more. The little girl had huge goals and dreams. The little girl grew up beautifully, I might add. At the age of 16, the little girl had a full-time job at a grocery store where she walked to work daily, and she continued to excel academically. Here's the little girl at her junior prom. But life threw the little girl a curveball. That same year, the little girl told me she literally watched her father disintegrate mentally and physically as he died of AIDS. The little girl was sad for a while, but she kept working hard, and guess what? The little girl earned academic scholarships at every opportunity so she could attend undergraduate college for free. That little girl, as smart and hardworking as can be, that little girl looked just like me. The little girl grew up and became a young woman and started her freshman year in college. She thought she had finally climbed over the mountain, but oh my, what a surprise when the little girl almost died in a car accident her freshman year in college, riding over a mountain to visit her family back home on her mom's 50th birthday. The little girl was tough, but she was bruised and broken. Broken leg, broken ribs, broken collarbone, broken pelvis, broken spirit. The little girl didn't know if she could recover. The friend she rode home with in the car where she almost died never called or came to visit her in the hospital. The little girl was in the hospital for an entire month, and there was a 3-month recovery period. Little did anyone know, behind that $1 million smile, the little girl suffered pain and rejection. The little girl was probably suffering from PTSD, but she told nobody. The little girl even lost one of her academic scholarships after the accident since her GPA dropped her first semester back in college. That little girl, as tough as can be, that little girl looked just like me. But the little girl refused to face defeat. She had hope in herself, helping ourselves prosper through evolution, excellence, and enjoyment. She went on to earn not 1, not 2, but 3 college degrees. The little girl became a school psychologist. But then the little girl remembered her dream to become a doctor. The little girl knew she had a bigger impact to make upon this world. After working for 5 years as a school psychologist, the little girl decided to get her PhD. But it wasn't easy. The little girl's mother, her rock, and mental support system, who had always believed in her, became ill and died of AIDS the same year the little girl was accepted into her doctoral program. The little girl remembers sitting all alone in the hospital, crying inconsolably as the nurses asked, "Where's your family? Are you the only child?" The little girl had told her family that day that their mother would die, but they were either in grief, disbelief, or they didn't want to miss out on the money from their jobs. The little girl cried all alone and waited for her family and the mortuary to come take care of her mama. But then there was victory. The little girl finally earned her PhD. But the devil is busy. The devil is a lie, y'all. Guess what? On graduation rehearsal day, Devlin, and this is a real person, Devlin, the female devil, hit the girl in the parking lot. Parking lot of the university, and the little girl's back and neck hurt so badly, she wasn't sure if she was going to be able to walk down the aisle during graduation. But the little girl was determined. The little girl would graduate and sit on the front row. That little girl, as determined as can be, that little girl is me. Mama, we made it, baby. I hope you're proud. I took the pain pills and muscle relaxers and strutted my head held high on graduation day. In our lives, we all have choices. We can choose to accept defeat, remain comfortable, and never explore the possibilities. However, if you know God, your creator, the universe, or whatever you believe in, has planted a seed of success and determination inside of your heart, I encourage you to burst through your self-perceived limitations and barriers and shatter your comfort zone and achieve the life you were designed to live. You deserve it. In an old book by Dorothea Brand entitled Wake Up and Live, she gives her readers the charge to act like as though it were impossible to fail. What could you do if you could not fail? Who could you be? Who could you help? How could you help yourself? How could you help others? I took this photo last summer when I went to Cabo San Lucas. I was on a little boat sailing around, and it was really scary. The waters are really rough in the Pacific, but this was such a cool photo. So just like Mr. Seal, I encourage you to keep your head held to the sky, bask in the sunshine, soak up the rays of success and prosperity, and live your best life. You deserve it. This is my acknowledgement page for my dissertation, and I just give a shout out to, my committee and everything, but, this doesn't cover everyone. It was literally a journey of blood, sweat, and tears, but just even a small word of encouragement. And remember this when you're working with your students. Small word of encouragement, a pat on the back, a wink, a head nod, anything to encourage, these young people to be successful and to persevere and not give up on themselves. Trust me, everything counts. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for listening.